The ninth cause for the ruling powers to become sharp is antaraja abhyosanina. Antara means the time in between. That is, while one is practicing, but before one has reached one's goal, before one has gained special Dhamma. In life, we work to get an education. We work so that we will prosper economically. And we work to get things that we can't live without. We do the things that are necessary in our lives. And if while we are doing these things, the work is interrupted. For example, if our education gets interrupted, we have to stop it before it's finished. Then our education won't be complete. And it's the same with other things. If we're working to make our living and that has to be interrupted, then our effort to make a living will be stunted. So, when one is going to do something beneficial for one, whether it's for oneself or for one's family, one's group, or whether it's for all of society, one should do it according to a plan. Otherwise, it won't work well. So, in the human world, to be a true human, for a monk to be a true monk, to have a humane mentality, for a monk to have the mentality of a monk, to be a human with special human knowledge, or a monk with special human knowledge. We all have a responsibility to work according to our objective so that we will achieve it. In the Pali texts, the word for human is manusa. And this has a hidden meaning. The literal meaning of it is one who has a keen mentality. When we say that mentality is keen or sharp, it can be keen in two ways, a bad way and a good way. And the bad way to have a keen mentality is for greed, anger, and delusion, lobha, dosa, and moha, to be extreme in one's mind and to give in to them, to have no control whatsoever, just living without control. And this is an example of a bad mentality. So there's no hesitation to kill or to steal, commit adultery, to lie. There's no basic human morality. No wish for others to be well. No sense of how another person feels when they're harmed. No shame and fear about doing wrong. So one's basic mental attitude is not humane. And one doesn't work to develop self-control stage by stage. And this type of person behaves in a wild, violent way without any type of control. And the world is overwhelmed by such people at this time. To have a good mentality means to understand that there are good things to do, to say, to plan. One has to do these things. There are things that are bad to do and say. One should avoid these. One avoids them because one has moral shame or moral fear about doing and saying wrong things. Or one avoids them because one understands how it feels to be harmed. So if one has this basic attitude, then one's mind is going in the right direction most of the time. Then one's mind will go in the right direction most of the time. And this is what it means to be a true human being. So if one is born human, then it is very important in the world to be a true human being. In this day and age, most people of the world either do not believe in existence or they do believe in it. So if they don't believe in existence, this means that they don't believe that there was any lifetime before this one, and after this one, there's nothing else. When we die, that's it. That's the end of it. And this is called Ocheda Deiti. And this is the view that the annihilist view, it's sometimes called, that everything ends. After this lifetime, there's only death, nothing else. And there are many people like this in the world, and there have been for quite some time. Or some people believe that although the body dies, there's a soul in the body, and it doesn't die. It goes on to another existence. It continues, and this continuation to another existence happens according to the will of a big soul, of Supreme Being. So these people believe that there's a soul and there's also a Supreme Being, and these things are permanent. These things don't die, and this is called Sasata Deiti, the view of permanence. So this type of view also, people with this type of view have been in the world for a long time. Among these two views, those who believe that after death there's nothing, there was nothing before this, we're here right now just for this moment and that's it. These people, because they don't think that anything will come after this life, then most people who with this view are violent and wild. They have their behavior physically and verbally, mentally, is unwholesome for the most part. But if we think about it, if there's just this life, then it's important in this life to be a true human being as we live with others in society. And if we have basic human intelligence, if we think about it in this way, even if we don't think about being true human and developing the mind so it is stable, if we have basic human intelligence, then we won't be wild. If there are future lives, then because one has behaved well in this life, it will be beneficial. It will bring good result in the future. So if one compares the two views, the view that people have that there's just nothing after this, or the view that there's something after this, a future life, the view that there's a future life lends itself to good behavior in this life. People have a hope for the future with with the belief in a future life. So there's hope that people who have this belief will behave well. So if one understands that the good that one does in the present life brings us good for the future, this type of belief is samaditi, right view. This is a correct view to understand how our actions now bring effect in the future. To have correct view, one needs to have good parents, good teachers, or read good books that explain this to us. And if we don't have good parents, we don't have good teachers, we don't have any good books, then mostly one will just follow the wrong path. One won't know to follow the right path, and one's mentality won't be good. So if one has, though, good teachers, good parents, even if one's initial mentality is not good, it can be corrected. One can make this correct. Yoniso manasikara means to have wise consideration. And people who have this, for the most part, they do dana, they perform acts of generosity, they keep sila, they keep their mind humane, and they work to develop knowledge, special knowledge. This understanding of our actions as our own property, kama sakata samaditi, that when we do actions or speech with good intentions, this brings a good result. That when one does things with bad intention, this brings bad result. This is a fundamental base for us, and it's very important. This basic upright attitude, people who have this, for the most part, will live a clean life. It's important to have an upright mind, because with this, to the extent one can, one performs acts of generosity, doing dana, one keeps basic sila. With this upright mind also, one can do mental development, bhavana. And to the extent that one does these things, one's status in life becomes good. So then one can be a person with a good mentality. So practicing meditation is a systematic way to bring this about. With an upright mental attitude, with moral shame and moral fear regarding doing wrong, and with a well-established feeling, understanding how other people feel when they're harmed, then one will surely investigate what is it to have pure and clean behavior. And when one investigates, one will find the method for doing this. And if one has the method, if one has learned the method for making one's behavior clean, then people who want to be a true human being will give this priority. So now, having the opportunity to practice, think about your life and compare it, how it is, how it was at the beginning of practice and how it is now. Compare to see how the difference is. As Sayadaw said before, with respectful practice, in order to try to come to see the mind and matter which arise and pass away in us, working constantly to develop the practice and working in a suitable way, and so on, that when these causes become fulfilled, starting with discerning the difference between mind and matter, seeing how they are related as cause and effect, one comes to see the true Dhamma stage by stage. And as one develops knowledge, faith also arises, acknowledging the truth of what one has seen. To the extent that one's knowledge is keen, faith also becomes keen. And when faith becomes strong and keen, then also courage. One's courage will become good. And so one makes effort to go past the difficulties. And going past the point at which pain gives one trouble, one reaches a stage where one's effort keeps on going. So one is able to observe every arising object with effort. And one's sati becomes good as a result. Concentration, samadhi also becomes good. And one knows the true Dhamma, mind and matter, which are related as cause and effect. One didn't know this before. And this knowledge is not ordinary. It is keen knowledge. It is exceptional. So to the extent one's faith develops further, this faith keeps one off of the wrong path in life. It keeps one from erring. And it has the ability to keep us in control of our lives. Thus, people who can reflect, if they possess a good mentality and they have firm faith that it is possible to become a true human being, it is possible to develop a humane mentality, and being human, to develop special human knowledge, such a one will search for the method to do this. And in developing one's mind, developing knowledge stage by stage, one shouldn't stop. One shouldn't back off from this task. One should continue practicing until the ruling powers are developed completely. One should practice until until these powers become fulfilled. So if one stops now along the way, what one has gained can fade. So if one really wants to become a true human being, to have a humane mentality, and to have special human knowledge, then go until you reach your goal, so as not to go back to a life which is without control, which is wild. It is said, Entaracha na abhyosanena, Entaracha abhyosanena, that before one reaches a secure situation, don't stop before you get to that point. So this is the last cause, to practice until one reaches one's goal without stopping along the way. This is the last cause for developing the ruling faculties which give us control in our life. So yogis should consider for themselves, in life, what is important. Is it getting an education that is important? Is it economic prosperity that is important? Is it being healthy? Is it having a high social status? So what is it that is important in life? So the yogis must decide this, each of us, for ourselves. Thus, such people, although they have the chance to practice, not knowing the essence of the Dhamma, not knowing that one needs to practice with respect, to practice constantly, and to work to do the practice in order to gain the benefit of having come here. Sayadaw has been explaining how to do this, how to do the practice in order to get the benefit of being here on retreat. Sayadaw has explained as one family member would speak to another. And just as there are those who have worked superficially, so too there are those who work correctly, and so too there are surely some who work very respectfully. If from the start of one's retreat one works with respect, with care, trying to practice continually, in 1 month one can experience special Dhamma. And if not in 1 month, if one does not experience special things within 1 month, then one should understand that there is something lacking on one's part. And in future, when one has the chance to practice, one must not be superficial. One needs to work with respect and continuity of practice, trying to make constant effort, and to work without regard for life and limb. It's important to understand this. It is said in the text, Dhamma kamo bhavang hoti. And in this, there's the word Dhamma. Dhamma is that which elevates, bears, protects, so as not to fall down, keeps the person who practices according to it from falling down, elevates their life, bears and protects them. So who is it that the Dhamma does this for? It does this for one who practices the Dhamma. It's not for nothing. So one needs to know the method and practice it. And doing so, this method of practice will keep one's life from going down. The Dhamma has this power. So those who don't want their lives to decline, or those who want their lives to become better and better, have a responsibility to practice the Dhamma with respect and care. Sayadaw has the responsibility, and the other teachers, to explain how to do this. And if one does as instructed, then the benefit of coming here will surely occur. So if one has been doing as instructed, for sure in this time the benefit of having come here can have been realized. But if one practices superficially, thinking, I know this already, I know it, this is nothing special, then one won't have gained the benefit yet of coming here. There's still time. And if one continues to practice, one has good prospect of gaining the Dhamma. So it's important to know the Dhamma to the extent you established a goal for learning it. Humans should establish a goal, and without a goal, one's life is not meaningful. So one needs to follow the path in order to reach the place that it leads, the safe destination. The path of Satipatthana practice is a very correct pathway. And Sayadaw has explained what the Buddha taught according to the late Most Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw. And those who have listened to it carefully and worked respectfully have surely developed very strong faith by now. But to look at some here, this has not yet happened. So Sayadaw encourages you to practice according to the instructions, because even in a few days' time, with application of effort, one can gain the benefits of the practice and make it worthwhile having come here. So Sayadaw urges you all to use your energy to the fullest during this time. That's all for today. Sadhu.